Hey guys, long time no see. 24 hours just seems like too long. Stay tuned to the end where you can find out how to win this free Exalted One beanie and a giveaway that I'm doing. I talked about it in the last video, but I'm going to go over the rules, and we're actually just going to do like a double giveaway. So you can enter in my last video or you can enter in this video, whichever one you want. But stay to the end and I will tell you all the rules. So I don't know if I'm just the only one who thought MJF took it a little too far when he was screaming at Brodie Jr. and ripped his mask off. So let's turn to Reddit and see what they thought. Let's talk about it. Long-term feud incoming. I can't wait for the match on pay-per-view in 15 years. I'd assume it involves MJF getting beamed right in the forehead with a kendo stick again. Same kendo stick. It's possible considering how young MJF is. There's only a 16 years difference. I could easily see it happening. Goldberg's 21 years older than Bray Wyatt. Booking MJF versus -1. We've had better matchups with similar age gaps though. Darby and Jericho is a bigger age gap. Cody and Dustin is a similar. Heck, Sammy Guevara and Kenny Omega is a 10-year age gap. MJF could be 40 and it would still be possible. Wrestling has no problem bringing out old folks for some spots, and I'm grateful for it. 65-year-old Jake Roberts hit a short arm clothesline this very night. I'm sure MJF and Brodie Jr. can have a nice long feud. If MJF stays healthy, he will likely just be coming off of his peak at that point. It seems many wrestlers can stay at their peak a few years past 40, now starting to decline heavily around 45. Can't forget, Brodie himself was 41 when he passed, and MJF could take less wear and tear as a smaller guy. Smaller guy, wrestles very safe style. I wouldn't be surprised if he wrestles into his 50s like Christopher Daniels. Hell, Dustin's huge, and arguably hitting the peak of his in-ring performance. And honestly, that's true. MJF really does wrestle very safely. He doesn't take many bumps, so it wouldn't be crazy to see him wrestling in his 50s. Jericho only recently tied up with Brian Pillman Jr. MJF in the ring with Brodie Jr. would be something special to look forward to. Brodie Jr. wrestles MJF when he's as old as MJF is now. MJF is still under 40 in that match. Yeah, I mean, I honestly keep forgetting how young MJF is, but I did just look it up. MJF is 24, so he would be just 40 when they had that match if Brodie Jr. was 24 at the time of their match. But he could easily wrestle younger than 24. He could have a feud with MJF before he's 24. So, I mean, definitely very possible for MJF and Brodie Jr. to have a match before MJF is 40. We all thought the feud was him and Jungle Boy. The true money lies far beyond that. 15, he'll be 18 in 10 years, and will be training before that for sure. I have no doubt he'll be on AEW in a decade. MJF is defending the belt against whoever, and from the crowd comes Brodie Lee Jr. and lays him down, costing him the title. Brodie takes the mask off, grabs the mic, and says, "That old man." That would be so amazing. Okay, so here's some opinions. Resource Man says, "I think it's funny. It's all part of the show. I'm sure he got permission beforehand. I bet Brodie Jr. loved every second of it. Did you see the grin on his face when he whacked MJF with the kendo stick? Kid was beaming. It was such a cool spot. Everything that happened in the match got an emotional reaction of some kind from me. This, 100%. I said the same thing in the post-show thread, but the fact that he could have such a smile during a time like that really says how much the spot means to him." Which honestly, like, reading these comments, I do agree with a lot of them. I don't think that it was something that happened totally on the spot. I know that they got permission to do it, but what I was saying is I just feel like I'm thinking about myself at 8 years old, and of course an 8-year-old girl is way different than an 8-year-old boy, especially one that's been in the wrestling industry his whole life because his dad was a wrestler. So when I saw that, I was like, how could he possibly be able to see the possible emotion that he's going to be feeling in that moment on top of having a man yell at him? And of course he had fun hitting him with the kendo stick, and he did have a good time. I saw that obviously like everybody else did. But my first reaction was like, that was just too far, MJF, you know? So, I don't know. It's good to see other people's opinions too, though. So then we have Socken. He says he definitely hates MJF. Brodie Jr. has his own dressing room tonight and had a sign on it that says, "No MJF." Everyone thinking they didn't clear stuff like this with Brodie's family is truly idiotic, especially after Brodie Jr. smashing MJF with a kendo stick. So, again, I don't think that they didn't clear it with him. I think that they cleared it with everyone that they had to, and I'm sure the mom would go with whatever would make her son happy at that time. It's just like I said before, you guys know how I feel about it. I thought it was great, and I think in the moment, you're just so, like, invested in the show, and you're like, what the F? Like, seriously, man? Like, why? But afterwards, you're able to, like, think it through, you know? And then someone says, I'm curious if he's smart to the business. Then someone says, Brodie Jr. and Eddie Kingston, as it's real to us. Of course, Eddie. Yeah, Eddie Kingston definitely feels that way for sure. Is that for real? Because that's hysterical. From what I've heard, that kid's humor is on level with his dad's. Then we have, the kid has to understand a good chunk of wrestling by now. Frankly, I did by the time I was 8, and I didn't have a father for a wrestler, which meant I didn't have a wrestler for a father. Yeah, but a wrestler might try to keep kayfabe longer because it's their kid, like Cody talks about how Dusty worked him. I could see that, just not with the whole Exalted One gimmick. I knew a 40-year-old man with 6 kids that defended Chris Benoit and swore he couldn't do that because he's not that kind of person on Raw. We had to explain the persona is not the same as the person. That always stuck with me. It's still real to me, damn it. Seriously, though. It is real for me when I turn it on. Just like any entertainment, it feels so much better to get engrossed in the product, then snap back to reality once it's over. It's surprising to see how many are actually confused, upset, or whatever about the spot. I could choose to watch it as fake wrestling stuff, but then it wouldn't be fun. I could watch it like people who feel like they need to be offended for other people, but that wouldn't be fun. So as a 43-year-old, I choose to watch it as an 8-year-old and really, really love that another 8-year-old is having the time of their life, and the worst time of their life. Which, this is kind of like what I was saying. Like, I know wrestling is wrestling, right? But then it's like when you're watching it, it's like, damn, MJF, like, why? And then, of course, I'm like, oh, that poor kid, like, even if he thought it was okay, and then, like, seeing John Silver in, like, the matching ring attire, it's just, like, I guess maybe just being, like, a woman and sensitive, it's like I maybe thought too far into it. And then, of course, after the show's over, you're like, okay, well, obviously, you know, they got permission. He was down for it. The mom said it was okay. So, like, who am I to really care? And obviously MJF is a god-level heel, so like the heat's definitely there, you know? And he did exactly what he was supposed to be doing. But at the same time, it was kind of like, you could have done it in other ways. I mean, Brodie Jr. could have hit someone else with a kendo stick. He could have been involved in other ways, you know? I even saw him on Britt Baker's Instagram today, and, you know, he definitely could have wrestled in another way. So, I don't know. I mean, take it for what it's worth. What the heck does my opinion matter anyway? In an era where kayfabe is dead, a guy like MJF is a diamond in the rough. A lot of people see it as disrespectful, but it's genuinely funny. A lot of jabronis who don't know it's a work when it's a work. Don't shoot yourself into a work, brother. MJF might be the only person who could pull this off. He's the guy that I love to hate to love. No one else could tweet that and still come out looking okay. He's the best character in all of wrestling right now, to be honest. Sometimes we all just need to see an asshole get the tar beat out of him, and the bigger the asshole, the better it feels to see it. MJF is the biggest asshole in the business. I held it together all night until I saw 10 cheering on Brodie Jr. after the kendo shot. Okay, so there is more. I'm just going to leave it on the screen, but the video is already getting so long. Like right now we're at 14 minutes, so I'm going to edit it down a little bit, but it's still a pretty long video, and I do want to get to the giveaway. So in my last video, if you didn't catch it, I'm doing a giveaway for the Exalted One beanie that I showed in the beginning. I'll post it up again right here. And all you have to do to be entered into the giveaway is 1, be subscribed, 2, comment who you think the next Exalted One is going to be, or if they're going to dissolve the faction altogether. So leave that in the comment, and then in the same comment, just write done. That's all you need to do. Make sure you're subscribed, comment who you think the new Exalted One's going to be, and write done. That's it. And then as soon as we find out who the Exalted One is or what's happening with Dark Order, I will then pick a random winner. And that's it. And I will nail you the Exalted One hat. So that's it for today's video, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.